Hello, Hoosier fans, Hoosier haters, and everyone in between. This is the Crimson Coliseum podcast. And on today's first episode, because I got another one coming in later today, I've got Jack, Aidan, and Carson. And we're going to be discussing the college football playoff, how everything's going with that, uh, and just what we all predict is going to happen. So I got the first quadrant, which is I believe it's the Rose Bowl quadrant, with Oregon, Ohio State, and Tennessee. With Oregon, number one team in the country. That's just number one team, Big Ten champions, 13-0, the only undefeated team. Offensively, they average 30, basically 36 points per game, with 172 rushing yards and 278 passing yards. And defensively, they've got 17.8 points allowed, 126.2 rushing, and then 175.7 passing. Some key players: Dylan Gabriel, it at 72.6% completion, 297 completions of 406 passes, 3,558 yards, 28 touchdowns, 6 interceptions. He finished top four in the Heisman race, I think third in voting, and is probably the best quarterback in the college football playoff. It was all Big Ten first team honors, and I think Big Ten quarterback of the year too, and offensive player of the year. I think those all together. Uh, Halfback Jordan James, 226 carries for 1,253 yards, which is about 5.5 yards a carry for 15 touchdowns. 24 receptions for 224 yards and was the All Big Ten second team. And then Bryce Bodicher, a linebacker on that defensive end, 87 tackles, 58 solo, 8 tackles for loss, 2 sacks, 4 passes defended, 1 interception, and 1 forced fumble. Was on the All Big Ten second team. And the reason why I think they'll win the quadrant is that they just have the most complete team in the field with extremely few flaws. But a reason why they could lose is Dan Lanning's play calling in the clutch. To say that this guy is ballsy is an understatement of the century.
Is he
That
as ballsy
like,
as Dan Campbell, though?
yes,
Yes, fair,
yes. Why do you run
fair.
a fake field goal on the 20-yard line with less than 2 minutes left against on the road? It worked out for him, but if Wisconsin had a good passing game, they probably would have lost that game. Um, Heading up
I
to
think it's
number,
just
yeah,
sorry. I just think it's funny that Dan Campbell's like decision making is finally starting to come back to bite him.
yeah. Well, it's not
Like in
his
the
Dude,
play
last couple
execute
of
calling.
one time out of 10 million times, the Lions will be fine.
Also,
yeah.
injuries are
Sucks,
just
I
kill.
don't know.
It's more injuries than uh play calling for the Lions.
Real, yeah, that too, that too.
Sad Noah noises. Sad Noah Detroit noises. If you get it, the trombones would get that joke. Uh, and then for the two teams that are playing in the first round, the number 8 seed, number 6 Ohio State. They finished with a 10-2 record, 7-2 in conference play, and was fourth in the Big Ten. Offensively, they averaged 35.5 points, 169.2 rushing yards, and 254.3 rushing yards. Defensively, they allowed 11 points at around 97 rushing yards and 144.3 rushing yards. Some key players for them: Jeremiah Smith, 57 receptions for 934 yards and 10 touchdowns, was the Big Ten receiver and freshman of the year. Had a pretty great start to the season, but the last two games have really not been great. I think he had a couple of 30-yard performances last two games. D'Angelo Pons just locked him up, and he hasn't been the same since.
Truly.
Defensively, that's where they've been their best. JT Tuimuluau on the defensive line, 38 tackles, 19 solo, 11 and a half tackles for loss, 6 sacks, 1 pass defended, 1 forced fumble. It was the first team All Big Ten defensive lineman. And then Caleb Downs, 61 tackles, 33 solo, 6.5 tackles for loss, a half a sack, 3 passes defended, 1 interception, and a punt return touchdown. Sucked. And it was the Big Ten Defensive
Mhm.
Back Player of the Year. And the reason why I think they'll win the quad, they have the best. They have the best roster money could buy, highest ceiling out of anybody. But the reason why I think they'll lose, injuries on that O line is just flat out can cost them, as well as just Ryan Day and Chip Kelly getting in their own heads and not play calling to the best that they can. That's why they lost against Michigan. And then the number 9 seed, number 7 Tennessee, 10-2, 6-2 in conference play, and was third in the SEC. The fact that the SEC plays 8 teams in conference is absolutely dumb. Offensively, averaged around 37 points, 232 rushing yards, 230.9 passing yards. Defensively, allowed 14 points, 99 rushing yards, and 179 passing yards. Some key players for them: Nico Iamaliva. I just
Hmm.
figured it was like an Italian person telling me his friend he broke up with his girlfriend. Nico Iamaliva. That's bad, but uh,
That's bad,
uh,
Alex. That's bad.
it's just a way for me to figure out how to pronounce his name because it is a weird sounding name.
Fair.
Uh, was had 65.7% completions on for 199 completions on 303 passes, 2,512 yards, 19 touchdowns, 5 interceptions. And then halfback Dylan Sampson, 256 carries, 1,485 yards, and 22 touchdowns, along with 19 receptions for 141 yards. Was the All SEC first team running back and all purpose player. The fact that 141 receiving yards with the 1,500 rushing yards is the all purpose player is weird to me. Um, and then defensive lineman James Pierce Jr. 35 tackles, 20 solo, 11 tackles for loss, 7.5 sacks, one pass defense, one forced fumble, one fumble recovery. Was on the all SEC first team. And something I'm going to rant about real quick: the fact that the SEC does not have all of the player stats and only has the top 10 is absolutely dumb. Same with the Big 12 too. They do the same thing, but they have more players.
They just don't got the funding. Like,
For real.
It
you mean like listed on the website, they don't have more than 10 players stats?
they don't have more than the top 10 in like tackles for loss.
So they
Bro,
don't. So they have like for 10 players on the team, but
hold
not
on
for
here.
like
No, not even on
everybody.
the team, but like just in the SEC, the top 10 in the SEC,
That's
Yeah,
and then they just don't
stupid.
show anyone else. It's dumb.
just
But
means
but but
more, you
ca-
know.
It
just
just
means
means less players. Reason why I think they'll win the quad is they probably have the best rushing attack, arguably the best rushing attack in the college football playoff, and I think they could just easily make games just a slow down mess. But one reason I think they'll lose is that just it's inexperienced quarterback play, and how are they going to do in a raucous environment of the shoe? Who knows? But my prediction: Ohio State blood magic will prevail against Tennessee. They're going to steal some of that blood magic the Chiefs have for this game. But they will lose to Oregon, and then the inevitable will happen a day later, where Ryan Day is relieved of his duties.
I'm pretty sure the Ohio State athletic director came out and said no matter what happens in the CFP, they're not firing Ryan Day.
It doesn't matter what he says. It
Oh
should be
boy.
championship or bust for Ohio State at this point.
Real, but
I
yeah.
Ryan Day, it just depends on how much. If you love John Cooper, you should love Ryan Day. I think he could win you a national title. The problem is he lets his emotions get the better of him when it comes to playing Michigan.
Hmm.
They can just
Yep.
beat
Yep.
anybody if they play smart and the other team doesn't have a winged helmet. Well, I think they could beat Princeton or Delaware, but
Um,
hot take.
so
Sorry,
I think
Tigers.
it's like if you guys seen like I can't remember the dude's name. I think it's like Brandon something, not like something around. I can't remember the dude's name, but he does like the skits with all the NFL teams.
Oh, Ben Schwarmer
Yeah, Ben
Bran. Is that
Schwarber,
his name?
something
Yeah,
like that. And he was like,
he's
he
funny.
was doing like for the college football playoff, and like he was making the joke of maybe Oregon has like 100 different uniforms. Maybe they go with a blue and yellow style uniform
Yeah,
to confuse
I
Ohio
saw that.
State.
That was funny. Scare them into thinking it's Michigan.
Yeah, but
That's
I
funny.
have Oregon winning the Rose Bowl and moving on to the semifinal. All right, Aiden, you got the Sugar Bowl. How
I
do you think
do.
that's gonna go?
Okay, I think
I'm not gonna lie, I took my emotions out of it when reviewing Sugar Bowl, but first let's get into the team stats. Okay. So I got Georgia, SEC champions. Record this season was 11-2. Now offensively, they're averaging 33.2 points per game. Their rushing yards were 129, and their passing yards were 285. Now defensively, they kept their opponents at an average of 20.4 points per game, with rushing yards of 128 yards per game and passing yards of 208 yards per game. Now look at key players. We got what's DL?
D-line.
They got D lineman. Mikael Williams got 20 tackles, 15 solo, 5 sacks, 1 PD.
Pass defense.
Pass
That's
defenses.
defended.
All SEC second team.
Deflection.
What's LB? Linebacker.
Linebacker.
Got linebacker
Linebacker.
Jalen Walker, 58 tackles, 36 solo, 11. What's TFL?
Tackles for loss.
Tackles for loss, six
for
and a half
loss.
sacks. What's PD?
Pass defense.
1 pass defense,
Pass defended.
2 fumble recoveries.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Now we got defensive back.
Yeah.
We got defensive back Milwaukee Starks, 73 tackles, 48 solo, 3
Pass defense.
pass defenses, and 1 interception. Whoa. All-time second team as well. Reasons why I think they'll win the quad. They need to turn into Iowa football. We saw Iowa have a great season this year, and frankly, their whole legacy. And I think they need to embody the Cornhuskers. That's Iowa, right? So Nebraska.
That's Nebraska,
They
my
need to
friend.
embody the Hawks mentality of playing football more than the Southern mentality they've been currently keeping this season. But I do think they will win the quad. Reason I think they'll lose the quad, Carson Beck's UCL injury in his arm could lead to miss the Sugar Bowl, and that'd be crazy for the Sugar Bowl performance. And I think if we beat Notre Dame, we can beat them without their all-star quarterback.
And I think
Yeah.
whenever you're saying like turn into Iowa football, just run the football down their throats and play some outstanding defense.
That's what I was trying to say, yeah.
Yeah. Because like Trevor,
Which they
not
could
Tre-
do that. They could do that. Georgia's got a really, really good defense.
Yeah.
And what, Trevor Etienne is
I think
their
it's
running
Trevor.
back?
It's
Trevor. Yeah, it's Travis's
Yeah.
brother.
Yeah, I couldn't remember if
and
Trevor was
he's-
the one in the NFL or not.
And he's been really good this year. A little inconsistent, but I think against who they play, either Notre Dame or if it's they both actually got pretty good run defenses, so they're kind of
Yeah,
but
we'll know. We'll know.
But we'll find out. We'll see. All right, sorry, keep going.
I think that Gunnar Stockton played plenty well in the SEC championship game. Got in the game, played the whole second half.
I'm just getting hair out there. Keep talking.
Sorry, I kind of make one more point. I think issue is that people are good. Like whoever they're playing is gonna prep for him. So there won't be as much shock value as there was before. Like we kind of saw that with Taven
No, that's
in
definitely true.
the Nebraska game versus the Washington game. Like he was able to run all over Nebraska, and they've got maybe they had a good defense. I don't even know anymore. But Washington was a lot better prepared for him. So
And
we'll
that's
see how that works out. That'll be interesting.
Yeah, I think the only exception was USC's backup quarterback. I can't remember the dude's name.
Jaden
Maeva.
Maeva, yeah.
I think he's
crazy.
Yeah. All right, let's get back on track.
Okay, let's. Okay. So number 7 ranked team got Notre Dame. They're independent champions with a record this season of 11-1. Now offensively, they get averaged 39.8 points per game with rushing yards of 225 and passing yards of 196. They keep their opponents on average at 13.6 points per game at 139 rushing yards and 158 passing yards. Now key players, running back. Jeremiah Love, 134 carries, 949 yards, 15 touchdowns, 22 interceptions, 206 yards, and 2 touchdowns. What?
22 receptions.
Okay. Got linebacker Jack Kaiser, 64 tackles, 37 solos, 1 sack, 3 tackles for losses, 1 pass to defense, and 2 forced fumbles. Right.
1 forced fumble.
1 forced fumble and 2 forced recoveries. Okay.
Fumble recoveries. We're good.
Okay. We got the defensive back.
Yes.
Xavier Watts, defensive back. Okay, there it is. 49 tackles, 30 solo, 1 touch for loss.
Tackle for loss.
Tackle for
Tackle.
loss, 9 pass defended, 5 interceptions, 1 touchdown, one
Force fumble.
Force
forced fumble,
fumble.
and 1 forced recovery. Reasons I think they'll win the quad. The rushing attack will carry the team to finals. I mean, we saw they have more rushing yards and passing yards, which is unheard of in modern football. In modern meta playing football, that's unheard of. They're bringing back that old style play, which I do enjoy watching.
They played both Army and Navy, so they're just incorporating the service academy style of football into their.
That's true.
That's
That
true.
more rugged sort of boots on the ground football. I mean, I think it's more fun to watch. You don't just, see people throw
Yeah.
balls out of bounds
Yeah.
for 4 hours. Anyway, that's the
Yeah, that'll be fun. That'll be fun.
Indy.
Run it up the middle.
Oh. Reason I think they'll lose the quad, Notre Dame has struggled hard in the big postseason game. Yeah, it really has been a tough look on them the past couple games, frankly. But, they're still a good team, and we still got to watch out for them. But, yeah.
Mhm.
I think
I
they're
think I
overhyped. I'll
saw.
say it.
I think I saw earlier that Notre Dame has not won. They've got some bowl wins, but they have not won a New Year's Six bowl since the turn of the century.
Wow.
They've just had, I don't know. There's underperforming in like games that matter the most, and I think it's because the best teams they play like during the regular season for the most part are ACC teams. Like they just need to like figure out
They need to
how
join
to
a
get in a
conference.
conference. They need
They
to
need to
join
jo-
a conference.
They need to join a
That's the
conference,
easiest
the
way to fix
cowards.
it. That is the easiest way to fix it. Like honestly,
Well, I don't know. They played some good football teams. And now maybe all we have
they
is
have.
good football
Who?
teams. Georgia Tech, good football team.
One. They played one.
Although I don't think
Don't
Haynes
say them.
played in that game, did
Louisville,
he?
Louisville.
Louisville
They only beat
was okay.
Louisville by like 7 points though at home.
That's
And
true.
Texas A&M's not ranked any. Like no one. I don't think they played a team
Well, and the Texas
maybe
A&M
except
team
for
that was ranked later was not
I
the same
think
one that
is
they played in week
yeah.
one.
Yeah, I mean, they have had the best strength. Is that what strength of schedule means? Like easiest people are going.
Yeah.
They've had the best strength of schedule and most easiest strength of schedule in the playoffs. And I don't think they should be just to rank 7. Having
They
them
lost
above
to 'em.
Penn State, I think, is criminal, frankly.
They
Penn State lost
they
Yeah, but they had hard teams to play. Notre Dame had a
they
cake
also
finals.
they lost to a mid MAC team too.
That's true.
We all need to remember the fact that they did in fact lose to Northern Illinois.
Well, and I mean, all your Notre Dame fans are gonna say, well, I mean, I'll say it too. I mean, this is a totally different team now than the one that played NIU week 2. I mean, that was what, 12 weeks ago?
Yeah.
A while
It's just-
ago.
They've been rolling since, but it's the same problem that we've run against with a lot of these teams this year, is that if you look at strength of schedule and blue chips and 5 stars or whatever, like a lot of these teams who are good and in the playoffs, you're not tempted to say that they've been tested, really.
Yeah.
But also, I mean, the stakes are higher now. So also how you'd perform in a regular season game against a tougher opponent would not necessarily be the same as you would be playing in the postseason, because you're just, I mean, you're playing for more. You're in, but you're in it to win it.
Yeah,
So,
like,
I think an
I don't
interesting
know.
thing
Do
with
the Irish show up?
Indy. Yeah.
it's just
Calamity,
it's just
I
the
don't know.
it's just the Indiana State Championship,
Yes,
Find
that's
out in
true.
2 days.
That's true.
Fun fact, they're called the Fighting Irish because a lot of Irish Americans enlisted in the Civil War.
Thank you.
Oh, didn't know
Nice.
that. I just thought because like Ireland is Catholic. I thought that was why they were called the Fighting Irish.
Well, yeah.
That too, but like interesting thing.
All right, let's finish this out here. Aidan, let's finish it out. Oh no, he was distracted. Oh no.
Sorry. We're on
Let's finish it
Indiana.
out. Let's finish out with
Let's wrap
Indiana.
her up. Let's wrap up the Sugar Bowl. So Indiana, real good record this season, 11-1. Great change of pace from last year. On average, we got 43 points per game at 174 rushing yards and 265 passing yards. Curtis Rourke's putting in work this season. Defensively, we're keeping our opponents at 14.5 points per game at 70 rushing yards and 174 passing yards. As I just mentioned, our key players, our quarterback, Curtis Rourke, 202 out of 287, 70% pass completion rate, 2,827 yards, 24 touchdowns, 4 interceptions, all Big Ten second team, top 10 in Heisman voting. He got robbed.
He actually had 2 first place votes too, which is funny.
I saw that. That was
yeah.
pretty crazy.
Hey, ball is ball. Stats don't lie.
I didn't know that I was voting.
Defense.
2 Indiana fans got on the
Hyman.
2 Indiana fans got on the poll somehow.
So we got our defensive line. Mikael Kamara, 44 tackles, 19 solo, 10 sacks, 15 tackle for loss, 1 pass deflected, 2 forced fumbles, and 3 fumble recoveries. Also, all Big Ten first team, kind of the GOAT, kind of carrying our team. A defensive god. He's a monster in the post. Anyway, nothing. Okay. Defensive back, D'Angelo Pons, 53 tackles, 35 solo, 4.5 tackle for loss, 9 pass defended, 2 interceptions, 1 touchdown. Nasty pick 6. I think it was during the Washington game.
Yeah.
Disgusting.
Sure
I was going
Probably the best cinematography.
that was a cool
He
shot.
also the second interception, he also mossed like a 6'4" wide receiver.
Boston.
And that was
he mossed Boston.
He's like 5'8", 5'9". I'm just like, how do you let him do that to you? Like, honestly.
It's called he just has hops.
Yeah.
He does.
No, I was gonna say nobody's gonna outplay him, that's for sure. They might outsize him a little bit, but I mean, it's not the size of the dog in the fight, you know.
Okay.
I think that pick 6 was probably the most the best cinematography I've seen in any
during how they filmed it, that was pretty cool. I saw
that was cool.
That and also the call
zoomed
and
out
like
on the entire stadium. Yeah, that was pretty cool.
Shed a tear, little. Shed a tear.
Yeah.
All right.
Me too.
Reasons why I think Indiana could win the quad is Cignetti has these guys in the best coach team in the field. I mean, he won coach of the season for a reason. Coach of the year for a reason.
A lot of coach of the year. I did not know that
he swept it.
Coach of the year awards too. That's kind of funny. But
he won like every one he could have won, which
I was gonna say he got the important ones.
Yeah.
I didn't see of anybody else that got one, but
yeah. And reasons they'll lose the quad, some teams just more talented. I mean, look, there's only so much strategy you can do behind a team that has a 340-pound linebackers that can run a 4.40. Like, there's only so much strategy we can have against, Georgia, Oregon. Sometimes it just ain't enough. But I think we got a good chance of winning Sugar Bowl. An okay chance of winning Sugar Bowl. A non-zero chance of winning Sugar Bowl. I think Notre Dame's really in the cards, which goes to my prediction. I think Indiana squeaks out the victory on Notre Dame. I'm saying 27-24, and I do think they get kind of blown up by Georgia 42-21. But, I mean, you got to take consideration they may not have their starting quarterback. So that could be huge for us if we win Notre Dame game.
That's true. And now we've got some Gunnar Stockton film,
Yeah. We got some, not a lot, but some.
Yeah. Well, I mean, he hadn't played at all, had he? Had he taken a college snap?
I think
other than a couple ones
time.
early in the season in like garbage time games.
Like, he hasn't played any meaningful football. Although he did throw that pick though, that could have cost them the game.
Yeah.
Like, he played well, but again, like, the inexperience showed. And I think if you put that on display against Indiana or Notre Dame, I think that's a bit. If I'm concerned if I'm a Georgia fan, I will say that.
Yeah, I was gonna say, out of all the teams you could go up against, I mean, two of definitely the better coach teams in the field. As of how this season has gone, I would say.
Yeah.
So, some concerns for the Bulldogs.
We'll see what happens.
Yeah, we'll see.
just preparing you for
I love
New
that
Orleans.
Pat McAfee like meme where it's like
Who's
Georgia,
that?
Alabama
Yeah,
with like the
Yeah,
Georgia chant.
that's a
that was
good
so
one.
funny. And
He
then he did
actually
it.
picked Georgia this year.
No.
He did it again with the SEC championship this year, and he actually picked Georgia,
That was
which
a that was a
for
that was
him,
one of the like the longest game day pick ever, surely. That's like two and a
yeah,
half
for
minutes of
real.
him just doing stuff, saying stuff.
I just I just love Timothy Chalamet, like the fact that
Oh,
like he like did like all
I
that
was
I
I
research.
love
was
him.
very impressed by his college game day performance. He was awesome.
He I was too, and he like got most of the games right. Like he like did
Yeah.
a
Well, I
good
was gonna say he
job.
was the only one who picked the Ohio upset in the MAC championship. I was like, man,
And
Wow.
they
this guy
got
knows his MAC
blown
shit.
out.
Mad
It
respect.
was like blown out. It was
Wild.
crazy.
Yeah.
All right, let's get to this. The
All right,
the third quad, the Fiesta Bowl.
it's my turn. All right.
Yes.
So the number 3 seed are the Boise State Broncos. They are the Mountain West champions. Went 12-1 this year. Their offensive stats are 39 points per game, 250 rushing yards per game, and 219 passing yards per game. As well as for on the defensive end, they got 22 points per game, 100 and 115 rushing yards per game, and 247 passing yards per game. And their key players are Ashton Genty, and this dude is good at football. Like I like watching him in the Mountain West Championship game. He was like he was just running all over UNLV. Like he was just like an urban legend to me until that point, and I was like, dang, this dude can actually like run over absolutely anybody. And he almost got the 2,500 rushing yards this season, which is crazy. It's for 29 touchdowns, and 20 receptions for 116 receiving yards, one receiving touchdown, and he finished second in the Heisman voting, which I know a lot of people have some very interesting opinions about that. And then another key player, their quarterback, Maddox Matheson, 2,714 passing yards for 22 touchdowns, 3 interceptions, as well as 224 rushing yards for 5 touchdowns. And then some key defensive players, safety Ty Benefield, 73 tackles, 53 solo, free pass deflections, and 2 interceptions. And then edge rusher Jaden Virgin Morgan for 39 tackles, 2 solos, 10 sacks, 1 forced fumble, and 1 fumble recovery. And again, I think this team is somewhat underrated because they're conference, but at the same time, I think like the fact that they come from a group of 5 school, it'll be very conference. It'll be very interesting to see how they translate to playing like the top teams in college football. Like obviously, the reason why they'll win is Ashton Genty. He's absolutely crazy, probably definitely the best player in the entire bracket. And they also have a very underrated defense, which I think will catch 2 teams they could go up against in the Fiesta Bowl. Penn State and SMU have showed a lot of inconsistencies on offense this year. So I think they might get caught off guard by this underrated Boise State defense. And they also get a first round bye, which means extra rest. However, if for whatever reason the Penn State and SMU can stop Ashton Genty, can their passing attack be consistent enough to win them games? Again, and because again, both Penn State and SMU have really good rush defenses. And again, will being in the Mountain West and the drastic change in opponent difficulty be Boise State's downfall? We'll see. And then at the number 6 seed, we got Penn State, 11-2 record. Offensive staff, they got 34 points per game, 202 rushing yards per game, 247 passing yards per game. And on defensive end, they got 16 points per game, 104 rushing yards per game, and 179 passing yards per game. And then the key players on this side of the ball, on the offensive side of the ball, we got Drew Aller, the quarterback position, 2,894 passing yards, 21 touchdowns, 7 interceptions, and then 279 rushing yards for 6 touchdowns. And then we got Tyler Warren, who I think is absolute beast. I love this guy. He can basically just do just about anything on the offensive side of the ball. Taysom Hill-like player.
I want him in
88 receptions.
Indianapolis. I want him in Indianapolis next year.
I
Colts.
maybe
Yep.
where do the Colts where do they pick?
Right
Are they
now, I think
like
they're
where
pick 12.
your best bet is to get him in the second round, and I don't know if he's fallen that far. I think the Chiefs pick him at like
No,
in the
no,
30s.
no.
I
I
hate to
don't want.
say it.
No, no. They don't need another
I
tight
hate
end.
to
No.
say it. I hate to say it. I think Chiefs are gonna try to get him. I don't know who else like in that like who's gonna pick like in the late first, early second is in the market for a tight end off the top of my head. But I don't think he's fallen to y'all. I'm sorry.
We
Anyway,
need a tight end.
finished yeah. He finished top 10 Heisman voting, all Big Ten first team. And then their big defensive player is edge rusher Abdul Carter. Uh, 60 tackles, 37 solo, 19 and a half tackles for loss, 10 sacks, 3 passes deflected, 2 forced fumbles. And he is arguably the best defensive player in the entire country. Might be a bit of a glaze, but he wears number 11 linebacker U. Definitely deserves it. I think he'll be a top 5 pick
Wow.
in the draft for sure. Definitely deserves it. I think he arguably could be the top prospect in the entire draft. Again, might be a glaze, but he's also the Big Ten Defensive Player of the Year and an All Big Ten first team selection, and both of those absolutely deserved. Absolute game changer. The TJ Watt of college football, if I will. Um, and then we got safety Jalen Reed, 79 tackles, 43 solo, 4.5 tackles for loss, 1.5 sacks, 3 pass deflections, 3 interceptions, 1 pick 6, probably one touchdown, 1 defensive touchdown. I don't know what it was. And then 1 forced fumble. And he was also an all Big Ten second team selection. And then again, reason why they'll win the quad and go to the semifinals is I think they're by far the most talented team in this quad. And if we know one thing about James Franklin, he knows how to beat less talented teams. He almost never loses against less talented teams. That being said, there's the coin flip where he never beats more talented teams, but that's neither here or there. And then the offense seems to be hitting its stride at the right time of year. Their offense coordinator, Andy Koltonecki, is a genius. He somehow always draws up like really good trick plays, especially the use Tyler Warren and stuff. I think that'll be a key factor for them reaching the semifinals. And then a reason why they'll lose is that their defense, Tom Allen, hasn't always performed the best against good offenses this year. And both Boise State and SMU have really talented offenses that could maybe throw them for a loop. And then as I've said, they've struggled in pressure situations where they're playing really talented teams. Can they pull off important wins in the postseason? I don't know. We'll see. I think they have a really good chance. I think if they put all their ducks together, this team's I guess, as sleeper a pick as Penn State can be to win the national championship. But we'll see. And then the last team in the quad is SMU at the 11 spot, and they're 12-2 ACC runner-ups offensive stats. They got 38.5 points per game, 179 rushing yards per game, 267 passing yards per game. Defensively, they got 21 points they allowed 21 points per game, 93 rushing yards, and 233 passing yards per game. Yikes. And then their key players are Kevin Jennings, who's got over 3,000 passing yards, 22 touchdowns, 8 picks, with 379 rushing yards and 5 touchdowns. And then their halfback, Rashard Smith's got over 1,000 rushing yards with 14 touchdowns and 35 receptions for 303 receiving yards and 4 touchdowns. And then defensively, their best player on defense is their middle linebacker, Kobe Wilson, who's got 110 tackles, 50 solo, 3 sacks, 2 pass deflections, 2 interceptions, 1 forced fumble, 1 fumble recovery, and he also contributes well in tackles for loss, sacks, and interceptions. Pretty much does it all on defense. And then I think the reason why SMU could win the quad is that their offense has performed well all year, and Kevin Jennings really does know how to deliver in pressure situations. They were able to come back really, really well in the ACC in the ACC championship game. Offense was not the reason why they lost. It was probably just special teams, if I'm being completely honest.
Yeah.
And then their deep receiving core will create a lot of problems for secondaries. They've got a lot of guys who can catch the football. There's not like one guy on SMU you can say like, oh, that's who they're going to throw the ball to. They've got like 3 or 4 guys that are reliable that Kevin Jennings can rely on. That's part of the reason why they're so efficient. And then the reason why they'll lose the quad is strength of schedule. I think they have the weakest, maybe other than Boise State, they've got the weakest strength of schedule in the entire playoff. I think the best team they've played all year is Clemson in the ACC championship game, but maybe Pitt. I don't know. They just haven't played. They play like none of the good ACC teams during the regular season. And then will the best version of this team show up? Are we getting first half of the ACC championship game SMU or second half of the ACC championship game SMU? And I think if SMU wants any shot of beating Penn State, they need to play like the second half of the ACC championship team the entire game, which if they're going to be able to do that in Happy Valley, I don't think they will. I think they lose 31-14 against Penn State. I think SMU will show up. I just don't think they've got the talent, and then obviously playing in Happy Valley is going to really work against them. Then I also think that Penn State is going to narrowly win over Boise State 35-27. I think Boise State is a lot better than people give them credit for. I think they'll show up, and also they'll have a bit of a home. They could have a bit of a home field advantage because it's in Arizona. Both teams will have to travel, but Boise's just a good bit closer. So, but I think Penn State comes out of this quad on top.
I'm just going with that strength of schedule thing. The lowest team to strength of schedule, Boise State at a strength of schedule of 79. This is according to ESPN.
Mhm.
Indiana at a 67. Notre Dame at 60. SMU at 58 among the
Okay,
top
so
12
they're
teams.
not as low as I thought. I just remember
Yeah,
hearing like in
yeah.
the Alabama versus SMU debate was that SMU had a really, really weak strength of schedule, but that's in comparison to Alabama, who's like in the SEC.
Yes, and they had a strength schedule of 18. So,
Okay.
Yeah.
And but what is the real difference if you have the 76 was Boise 76 and Penn State or SMU is 58? What
yeah.
is the real difference between that's only 18 spots? What's the real difference there between the 58th ranked strength of schedule and the 76th? I mean, you play one team that has one more win, maybe, if you look at the aggregate wins for all
Yeah,
your
once
opponents
you
over the season. Like,
Uh,
is
when you
there
get to the
really a
middle,
cavernous difference between all these teams' strength of schedule? And for that matter, other people's strength of schedule in the playoffs?
I think the BYU game improves their strength of
they did
schedule
play BYU. Yeah, they did. I
in
forgot they
their
played
in their
BYU.
non-conference. So that's probably what that difference is just the BYU game. So, yeah, I really don't take strength of schedule too much into account unless it's like a very big difference, like Indiana versus a possible game against Georgia. That is
Yeah.
67-1. But it's also from ESPN, and ESPN is extremely biased towards the SEC. And also, do you know what helps your strength of schedule? Losing to crappy teams.
That's true.
Yep.
Because
Yep.
they have better wins. That
I was
improves
gonna
your
say and especially this
Losing improves
season,
your strength of schedule.
because this season was the perfect storm because you expand the playoffs and then immediately everybody immediately becomes kind of mid. It's just there are less great teams, there are more good teams.
Yeah, I think there's only
And
like one
so
elite team in the playoff.
you just have to take that into account too. Like the 12 team playoff this year, a lot different than the 12 team playoff from, I don't know, 4 or 5 years ago, if they would have had it. The teams just
The
look kind of different. College football is
the
just
the
shaking
talent
itself out right now.
the talent's a lot more spread out right now, and I think that's I think this playoff is I've seen like a lot of like just like one-sided predictions for a lot of these first round games. Like I think I've seen like the higher seed beats the lower seed like in almost every prediction I've seen so far. And I think we're gonna have like it's gonna be a lot more like March Madness than I think people
Hmm.
like. Who would have thought that Indiana like who would have thought that we would have gotten this bracket at the beginning of the season?
And just to compare it to like 4 years ago, 2020 bracket, what could have been 12 years ago, Alabama, Clemson, Ohio State, and then Texas A&M as the top four seeds. Notre Dame, Oklahoma, Florida, Cincinnati, Georgia, Iowa State, Indiana, Coastal Carolina. So
Coastal Carolina.
the random Coastal Carolina year, when
Yep.
everyone thought like Coastal Carolina was going to be
I
that new.
forgot they were good like for a while. They were like really good for like 2 or 3 years.
Like every couple of years, you get like this random group of five team that dominates their group of five, and everyone thinks, "Oh, this is gonna be the group of five team that's here to stay," and then it's a new team because you got like UCF, Coastal Carolina, now Boise State, but Boise State's consistently in there.
And then they could just jump to Power Five conferences.
Yes. Anyways, let's finish this
Like,
out, Carson.
Oh, I was gonna say I've got one
Oh
thing to
yeah,
say, a little inside scoop for Penn State. Got a lot of friends go to Penn State, and they're all saying
mhm.
rumor on campus is that the Penn State team's being real cocky with their playoff lineup.
Ooh.
They say, quote, it's a free semifinals run. So I wouldn't be surprised
Oh.
if we see not the best Penn State in the first half of the SMU game, and then see him play hard in the gridiron to make up for that maybe trailing score in the second half. Just saying, don't be
Dang,
surprised.
based on an insider scoop, that Boise State game is looking mighty interesting. Because if they're acting that way against SMU, well, at home, like, oh, I don't know. That
I
Boise
just
State game might take them by surprise.
I just love the argument that like Penn State got so much of a better seed than Oregon did and yada yada yada.
Yep.
These are the tw
Mm-hmm.
these are the honestly at this point these are pretty much the 12 best teams in the country. Sorry, with a couple exceptions, Clemson. Um
Clemson.
uh I'm gonna
Clemson.
Dabo's gonna at me on Twitter now. Just watch.
No, it's just like Dabo sees us as like finally someone that doubts us. Now we have motivation.
There you go. All he wants to
Buddy, the
like
entire country is doubting you. I'm sorry.
We're just like, hey Carson, you were the reason why we won the national championship.
Yeah, I was gonna
That'd
say
be
maybe I'm gonna have to eat my words when they make it to the championship game as the 12 seed, but
Hey, they
trying to
got
compare paths to the
somebody.
championship is so dumb.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
Clemson finally made a transfer portal edition.
I was gonna say, was that real? Did I see that?
Yeah. They I forget who it was, but I remember
Some
seeing it, like
running
on
back or
Instagram. It was like
something.
Dabo's first ever transfer portal edition. I was like, that's insane.
Hey, it
I mean,
only
he
took
likes
Bro
his
is so
guys.
behind the
4
times. He's so
years.
behind.
Carson, you're gonna love me hear me saying this. He just loves his guys, you know.
It's true. The guys.
But
Big
yeah,
sigh.
it'd be hysterical if the 16th ranked team in the college football playoff poll wins the national championship.
Yeah,
That'd be awful. That'd be
that'd be
absolutely.
that'd be a tough look for the AP.
But
That'd be
also,
bad.
Clemson winning knocked Alabama out, and that means everyone should be happy about it.
Yep.
That's true.
Yep.
That's true. Alabama did not deserve to be in the playoff.
no.
We're
People, no,
okay. No, this is
I'm
sorry.
about to get fired up.
Oh
Go.
no, I was about to get fired. No, I'm just the point of saying that Alabama, could they win the national title in this playoff format?
Yes.
Yes. But and I
Yeah.
know that everybody thinks that deserving teams is like a bad thing because oh TCU. Don't forget that TCU beat Michigan. They had to play 2 games in the 14 playoff 2 years ago. It wasn't they beat Michigan and then they got blown like that Georgia team was just different. And
There,
this year, there just
yeah.
aren't any different teams. And so Alabama has two terrible losses on their resume. They don't deserve
Hmm.
to have the chance to play for the national title. In no other years are people like, you know what? Three-loss Alabama, maybe we should vote them as the AP #1 team. Because hypothetically, if they were to play any of these, teams we have ranked above them, they'd probably win. So we should probably just put them at one, right? Nobody's
Like
saying that.
the Georgia win, it's a really good win, but they nearly blew it.
Yeah.
They
And
Like
then
and
if
Georgia
they
went
then
again. What Georgia team were they playing?
and they lost to Oklahoma by 3 touchdowns. Like
Yeah, this
that's
is a
just
terror.
so
And
bad.
Oklahoma was bad.
Bad. They're not. It's not. This is
Bad.
not like Baker Mayfield, Oklahoma. This is Jackson
This is
Arnold,
Jackson Arnold slash
Oklahoma.
backup
Slash
Oklahoma.
backup
Oklahoma,
slash now Auburn quarterback, which that says something that he's now the Auburn quarterback. That just says something about that
Hey, I
team.
think he's gonna be better at Auburn. Are the Tigers back?
Fair.
Tigers
Maybe.
back. Who
Cam
knows?
Newton
They'll just rip their
2.0.
hearts.
I could try to slide him.
Auburn just rip their fans' heart out again. They just always do that. All right,
Basketball
let's
school.
let's get back on track again.
Okay,
uh,
let's.
Keep it.
Speaking of quote easy quote pass to the quote finals. Let's do the Peach Bowl.
Yeah.
We've got the
Like
12th.
fresh
We've got the
out.
12th ranked team in the playoff. The number 4 bye team, Arizona State. The Sun Devils are really fun to watch. Don't know if you guys have been
Hmm.
watching. They're really
They
fun.
are. They
They're your
are.
one of your two newcomer conference champions in the Big 12. They're 11-2, first in the Big 12, obviously. Offensive stats, they're putting up 33 points a game, 199 rush yards a game, 224 pass yards. Defense, they're holding teams at 21.3 points a game, 118 rushing yards, and 219 passing yards. And your key players are top 10 Heisman vote getter Cam Scatterbo. So fun to
the heck
watch.
is a Camp Scatterbo?
Entrancing.
263 carries for 1,568 yards, which is 6 yards per carry. Is that best in the country?
Yes.
That
That
has
might.
to. Yeah.
Or
I
I
mean,
wonder what
62.
his yards after contact is. That's what I want to know. Because bro just does not go down.
yeah, that's
I know Gene T
He does
leads
not.
leads the nation in that in yards after contact.
it's
Like
just
Scattaboo also does not go down.
Yeah.
no. No, two kind of similar, just so fun to watch running backs. 19 touchdowns.
Hmm.
It makes
Also.
sense. It says his favorite song is "I Stay Standing." So.
Oh, well, there we go. That's I'm
I'm still standing.
I'm
Oh,
still standing.
bro doesn't know his Elton John. That's crazy.
That is
Okay.
absolutely wild.
That was almost amazing.
Did
And
not watch the Sing movie growing up. What a shame. What a shame.
cringe.
Whatever. Yeah.
Okay, so not only can he run, he also has 37 receptions for 500 yards and 3 touchdowns. And he's gotten over 100 yards in 6 of his last 8, and he's all Big 12 first team running back. Good player. Jordan Tyson, wide receiver, 75 receptions, 1,101 yards, and 10 touchdowns, also all Big 12 first team.
Wow.
And Xavion Alford, defensive back, 82 tackles, 37 solo, 4 pass fence, 2 interceptions, also all Big 12 first team. So they could win their quad if Scadaboo comes out and plays like he has been, and Levitt plays really well. The Sun Devils have a very fun offense and something resembling a defense. So, I mean, if they play, I think they can win. I think they can win the Peach Bowl. There's just not. But why they'll lose? They have one of the weakest rosters in the college football playoff, just talent wise. They've got their I would say that they're an interesting team and that they've got their standouts and then they've got some other guys.
So yeah,
Um,
just
hmm
to update
That's
on
just
the
every Big 12 team. That's every
yeah,
Big
that's
12
true.
team now.
That's true. Classic Big 12 team. Great
just
content.
to update on the yards per
Yeah.
carry stuff. Scadaboo in college is 38th in yards per carry. And
Okay.
in terms of the playoff, the top guy in the playoff is Jadarian Price from Notre Dame, averaging 7.3.
Oh,
And then
But how many carries do each of these
yeah.
people?
He doesn't have a ton probably.
He's probably the biggest workhorse. Well, him and Ashton's the
89
biggest
carries for
workhorse.
Price. Then second is Gene T. I think at also 7.3 a carry. Then Jeremiah Love at 7.1. And
He's a dog.
then it's Travion Henderson at 7.
I like him too. As far as Ohio State
Um,
guys go.
and then Nicholas Singleton from Penn State at 6.4.
Dang.
And then it's Scadaboo. Funnily enough,
That's the Lions' problem.
The Navy quarterback is 10th in yards per carry.
Uh, Blake Horvath,
Yeah.
dog. That Army Navy game was awesome,
It was really fun to watch.
awesome. But go Navy beat Army. So
Real.
anyway, um, okay. So Texas, uh, three ranked number five, SEC losers, or rather SEC runner-ups, if you want to put it the nice way. So they're 11-2. 7-2 in SEC play with their two losses coming to the same team. Offensive stats 33.6 points a game, 164 rush yards, 281 pass yards.
Wow.
They've got a very good defense, 12.5 points a game, 107 rushing yards, 143 pass yards. Important players to watch. Quinn Ewers, quarterback. He has attempted 352 passes and completed 233 of them. That is good for 66%. 2,655 yards, 25 touchdowns, 9 interceptions, all SEC second team. SEC second team. Linebacker Anthony Hill Jr., 90 tackles, 43 solo, 16 tackle for loss, 7.5 sacks, 1 pass defense, 1 interception, 4 forced fumbles, 1 fumble recovery, also all SEC second team. Defensive back JD Barron, 47 tackles, 32 solo, 1 sack, 9 pass defense, 5 interceptions, and 1 fumble recovery. Texas is a good football team. Their defense is really winning them these games. Their defense is top 3 in the playoffs. Their inconsistency for Sark to have this inconsistent an offense is a little concerning. But their defense has been
I
holding them out in all of these tight situations. But sometimes their
I
offense
fit
can't get over the hump.
at the beginning of the year, if you would have told me that like the concern for Texas would be like quarterback play, like I would have lost my mind because like they've definitely got like I would have thought they had the best quarterback room in all of college football.
Mhm.
Yeah, I was
That's
And
gonna say
Quinn Ewers has just
they
been
have two of the
so
most talked
disappointing.
about quarterbacks in college football on the same team, and one of them is the backup. Like, yeah, it's just mind-boggling.
And that's the issue. That's like the reason they've lost games is because Quinn Ewers and I don't know how much Arch Manning has messed up, but like they just can't pull it out when it matters. And that's something they should really be able to do, considering that they're like experienced and go to Texas.
Yeah. I think that I think that after this season, this will shake itself out. Either Quinn will go to the NFL, or I think he transfers out. I
Yeah.
I
Michigan
think that Arch
State
is your new guy at Texas.
Michigan State is offering Quinn Ewers like $4 million in the portal, which I think is absolutely crazy.
What it? Oh, well, yeah. Don't Quinn. Don't go to Michigan State. Don't do it.
Please don't
Go to the
don't do
other
that.
green team in the Big Ten. I think that would actually not
Yeah,
be a bad spot for Quinn Ewers.
yeah. Well, they got Dante Moore there.
But does Dante Moore stay? Is he the guy?
There, that's true.
Is the
Maybe,
guy.
maybe.
Dante
Who
Moore,
knows?
come to
So
Indiana.
much. Please, please.
I liked him when he was at UCLA.
Or
Come to
or or
Indiana.
Quinn Ewers come to. I don't want Quinn Ewers actually. Quinn Ewers can go to
No.
I
Oregon.
want a
Give me
guy that's
Dante
going to
Moore.
stay more than a season. I don't want to
That
keep playing
too.
quarterback roulette in the portal.
But yeah.
I'm sorry.
Could have
That
Or
had.
Tyler Cherry. Or Tyler
that's
Cherry.
a
You got
little
Tyler Cherry.
cynical. Curtis was
You
a
got Tyler
great
Cherry.
pickup in the portal.
Yeah.
He's been really good. I don't think that was as much of a risk. Curtis is just a good football player.
Yeah. I was doing like some stuff earlier today, and I saw a clip of his brother Nathan whenever he was on the Jags during the preseason against the Cowboys. Whenever he like ducked under two linemen and threw a touchdown while another guy was just on him.
That's crazy.
It was like I think it was last year, like the craziest quarterback play of the preseason last year.
Those Canadians are just built different.
Yeah, they just are. They just build. It's like
A Canadian.
you see Curtis just ducking under sacks all the time.
I saw something where like Curtis Rourke really wants to play for Team Canada in the flag in the Olympics for flag football in 2028. And I was like, if I can see Curtis Rourke in the Olympics, my life is just complete. I don't care if he's not playing for Team USA. Like, just get that man in the Olympics, please.
All right, one last team. One last team.
Okay,
Wrap it up,
yeah.
Carson.
Oh, sorry. No. So Texas's biggest question mark is inconsistent QB play. By
Mhm.
particularly Quinn. He is also injured.
Mhm.
He has like some weird bionic ankle thing going on. So see if Sark and the Lions can work on that. Okay, number 12, sneak into the playoffs. Number 16 ranked Clemson, ACC champions for the like 20th time in the past 10 years, or whatever. They're 10-3, 6-3,
Oof.
in ACC play. Uh, Weird season for Clemson. Weird season.
You can say that.
Really high. No, it's like medium highs. It's the lows are pretty valley like, pretty Grand Canyon-esque. But anyway, Dabo, he's just that guy.
Mariano Trench.
Offensive stats. They're putting up
Whatever that. Yeah.
they're putting up 35.5 points a game, 181 rushing yards, 271 passing yards. They are allowing 22 points a game, 150.5 rush yards a game, 214 pass yards a game. Key players, quarterback, Cade Klubnik, 282 for 443. For those of you who can't do that math in your head, that is 64%. 3,303 yards, 33 touchdowns. He's all about the threes. And 5 picks. 33 touchdowns, 5 picks, 3,300 yards. Cade Klubnik,
Nasty.
I'm impressed. I apologize. I was unfamiliar with your game.
He is very much underrated. Like, he is not talked about enough.
Didn't even
Like,
make
if
an
we're-
all ACC team.
He should have
Kind of crazy.
with those stats, with 33 touchdowns.
Too political.
How many? Oh, okay. Running back, Phil Maffa. 214 carries, 1,106 yards, 8 touchdowns, all ACC third team. And Antonio Williams, 71 receptions, wide receiver, Antonio Williams. 71 receptions, 838 yards, and 10 touchdowns, all ACC first team. Yeah, the Clemson Tigers. They can
Mm.
still get it done.
Phil Maffa Phil Maffa's coming off of a pretty big injury and minor shoulder injury. They said he's
Where
going to be at full strength, but that's definitely something to watch.
when did he get that? Was that
I
versus
think he was
USC
out. I think he was out for the ACC championship game.
or
I'm pretty
USC?
sure.
USC's in
Oh
California.
no, he did play 13 rushes for 28 yards. But I just know he's coming off that, which will be,
It
I
yeah.
think, could work to their
I don't know.
detriment.
If it's a shoulder, I mean, he's a halfback. He can play. He might be able to play through his shoulder as long as he doesn't get too dinged up. If he's not
Yeah.
driving into piles and stuff. Um, so why Clemson can win this quad? Klubnik is quite efficient, and Dabo calls the best plays he can. Yeah, at their best, Clemson, it's a good football team. That's They are. But they have the weakest roster out of the field. That's a bit of a take. Yeah, maybe. Yeah.
They do.
So
Lose
it's
to Florida by multiple scores. Not Florida. Don't lose to Louisville by multiple scores.
Yeah.
yeah, that was
Al-
rough.
Al
You
Carney show.
watched that game.
Yeah.
Um
Yeah, we're sitting on the couch together.
that was yeah. And then the blowout loss to Georgia to start the year really set the tone, I thought. Even though I was gonna say you have rolling weeks in a row, then you just absolutely eat it against somebody. It's just kind of how it's gone. And they ran
Inconsistency.
it was inconsistent. I mean, yeah. And this is I mean, it's not a unique problem to Clemson. All the playoff teams have it. It's just the Clemson at their worst
Dreadful.
the floor is lower than the floor for a lot of the other playoff teams I'm feeling,
Hmm.
especially
Yeah.
the ones in their quad too. So
Espe-
who
Again, it's which Clemson team shows up first half of the ACC championship game, Clemson, or second half of the ACC championship game, Clemson.
Real.
yeah, no, for sure. So, oh, yes, I have a prediction. I think Clemson and Texas in what I'm dubbing the unofficial Orange Bowl. Clemson and Texas have a close one, but Texas finally squeaks by. The defense shows up and forces some mistakes from Klubnik and the Clemson coaching staff. And then I think Texas kind of rolls by Arizona State. Um, this quad out of all of them, I have the most question marks about. Because I don't know. Do I think Arizona State can beat Texas? Sure. If Texas is having their worst offensive day and Arizona State is having their best slash least bad defense day. Um, so I don't know. We will see.
Just shout
All
out
right.
to Arizona State being picked last in the Big 12 preseason media poll, and they win the conference. I
Yeah,
just
that's
think that
true.
just shows how useless the preseason media predictions are.
They had Indiana at 17th,
They
so
did.
They
I
did.
was
I
gonna say the
also
Big
we were
12,
second to
Big
last.
10 projected bottom feeders ended up finishing, pretty
yeah,
well.
they did pretty well. So
Kenny Dillingham is that guy. Shout out Arizona
He
State.
is. He is. He is.
so to recap, we've got Oregon winning the Rose Bowl,
Mhm.
Texas winning the Peach Bowl, Georgia winning the Sugar Bowl, and then Penn State winning the Fiesta Bowl. Of the Final Four, the Cotton Bowl between Oregon and Texas, I think we got Oregon winning. Even though like I debate on doing Texas just because like
Basic.
it's the Cotton Bowl.
Basic prediction.
It is basic, but it's also Oregon.
Basic prediction. Yeah, I guess.
I mean,
Big 10 week.
it's either it's because like Texas, it's basically a home game for Texas because the Cotton Bowl's like right there.
That is true.
Yeah.
That's a concern.
Yeah, that's in
And
Dallas.
if Quinn Ewers shows up, I mean, that Oregon defense got plenty. They did not play that well against Penn State. Like that's going to be a concern. And Texas's defense, if they shut down Oregon's offense like that, if Texas shows up, that is a very scary
Yeah,
matchup for Oregon, I think.
but the key word is if. That is the key word. If.
If, if.
I like Oregon's consistency over Texas. And then for the Orange Bowl, Georgia versus Penn State. It is a home game for Georgia, but I like Penn State's defense here over Georgia's quarterback play. I think it's going to be a very low scoring, ugly game. A lot of
Hmm.
turnovers. A lot of confusing play calls. James Franklin's going to try to give the away game the best he can, but that defense is going to finally show up. Tom Allen's going to have the best coaching game of his career, and Penn State's going to squeak by with a win there to the Orange Bowl to set up a
If
Big Ten
Pence,
championship rematch. And Oregon, I think Oregon gets the better of Penn State this time again.
again,
I think they
I,
learned what the.
I, sorry,
Yeah, no,
I
you're
would
good.
love to see an Oregon Penn State rematch in the national championship game. That'd low key be very, very entertaining.
That'd be heat.
I think it'd
Again,
probably
all my
more.
Penn State friends would
The
be
two, there's the
insufferable,
two Penn
but
State guys here.
Yeah, I mean, I think they can
Yeah,
do it. I think they can upset them. I think they can win by 13 points, given their best day.
I don't trust James Franklin to win the big one just yet.
I
How
agree.
Maybe next
long
year.
how long is it before James Franklin wins the big one? This has been like 10 years
We've been talking.
running.
Orange Bowl is his big one. The Orange Bowl is his big one. That's what I'm predicting
Okay.
here.
I have been a James. I've been like before coming here, big Penn State football fan. I just think James Franklin. I don't know. I don't know how I feel about that man anymore. It's rough.
Fair.
It's rough over there.
It's fair. Like he hasn't. He's been
It's
a
rough over
good, not
there.
great head coach. And one of these times he's got to
He's
break
still
through.
getting
And
carried over that. He's somehow still getting like 2016 win over Ohio State nepotism still. Like
it's not nepotism to say. Oh my god.
Nepo
But
baby.
yeah,
like people are still talking about that win 8 years ago, and I'm like,
It,
bro, you haven't done anything since.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but
it's
this
like
Won
is
the
Ohio
Big
State
Ten. Good
talking about their
job.
win streak over Michigan until, 2021.
I get a brag about something
until
else.
They
that
can't.
2021 class came around and decided not to do that. But
Quinn
well,
Ewers, only member of that class to beat Michigan.
yep.
Shout out Quinn Ewers.
That was an odd when that graphic came across my feed. I was like,
That
yeah.
was peak
I was like,
comedy.
wait a second, that doesn't make sense. And I realized, oh yeah, he transferred to Texas.
Yeah, he transferred to Texas. But this field is honestly pretty close. Like any team can just lose in the first round or go all the way. To me,
Yeah.
at least.
March Madness, baby. March Madness,
There's
Christmas
like a
time, March
certain.
Madness.
We're
Yeah,
in a
why don't we
certain.
just expand the college football playoff to 64 teams?
Yeah, just
For
do
So
that.
real.
we don't leave out Alabama.
Don't leave out
Are we gonna
Alabama.
talk? Are we gonna talk about how Kent State was robbed though?
Wait, what?
Oh,
They
if
need
Like,
to
you're
do
we
the
if you're
play.
work.
if you're gonna leave out Alabama, why are you
You
not talking
can't.
about Kent State for that 12
Who
spot?
would you?
The 12 lost
We
Kent
play
State
Kent
in the
State next year
CFP.
too. I think.
Like, you would
No,
replace
we
No,
play.
we play Kennesaw. We
Oh,
play
Kennesaw,
Kennesaw
yeah.
State next
Kennesaw
year,
State in
which is
Indiana.
just as bad. Just as bad.
Okay, no, Alex, you might know this a little better than I can. What can Indiana do anything to fix its out of conference schedule for like the next 4 years?
Right
Oh,
now,
hey,
right now, it's all been set in stone
hey,
because
we play a Pac-12 team in 2 years, y'all.
It's
who we
it's
play.
Colorado
it's a
State.
current Mountain West team, isn't it?
Colorado State. Oh,
Yep,
yep.
yep.
Wait.
Because like we
My
have the
cousin
series with
goes
Notre
there, I
Dame
think.
like scheduled to
The
2030.
green one.
Like
Yeah.
Yeah, my cousin goes there.
we schedule this stuff like years and years in advance. Like we could do what Tom Allen
EA.
did to buy out of a game and try to get a new one, but it's probably not going to be a
Well,
good game.
Yeah,
but the
it's
problem
even worth
the
it.
point well, I was gonna say the point is that all the teams who you want to play, like if Sig wants to beef up the out of conference because clearly that was hurting us, as opposed to doing the Lane or not the Lane Kiffin approach, the Alabama athletic director approach and saying we have to reschedule all of our non-cons because Alabama had the most difficult non-conference schedule in the country this year, and that is why they lost to Vanderbilt in Oklahoma. So if Indiana
Mhm.
wants to beef its resume and get out of the strength of schedule things, because clearly we don't know how the Big Ten is going to be year to year. Most of our schedule last year, you would have looked at that and said, "Oh my
They're
God,
not,
we might
yeah.
win 2 games."
Yep.
Versus
Yes, I
this
love
year,
Literally
where you were
playing.
both.
like, Indiana played nobody and nobody in non-con. So how do we fix the non-conference schedule? We don't play Notre Dame until like 2030 again.
We
So
could
I am. You know what I'm
restart
absolutely
the Louisville
terrified of for
series.
Alabama? I'm absolutely terrified for them. That November 22nd game against Eastern Illinois, the second to last game of the season.
That's going to separate the men from the boys.
For
But
The Panthers are going to
but
show up to play that one.
Yeah.
I think the
I
This
only
just
might
way
be a
you
want
color
could
rush game,
like
actually.
the only way I think could really do
Shout out
that is
CBS.
if conference commissioners come together and do like what basketball does with the SEC, ACC, or Big Ten, Big 12
Well, and I mean,
yes,
there's
challenges.
we need
obviously been rumblings of like a SEC Big Ten challenge. Oh. But also, when can you implement that? Well,
Also,
I'm sorry,
I
maybe
think
the SEC will have to get rid of their, cursory FCS game in the middle of November.
um
God forbid.
uh-oh.
I
Why do you
think
play
I
nine
just want
conference games?
I want one of those FCS teams to beat the SEC team so bad so they could be like this isn't like viable anymore. Like I just want it to happen.
Clearly,
like
we're
it's
gonna have to schedule big teams to play out of conference because these FCS teams are just really getting us late in the season.
yeah, like
Yeah.
looking at
Those tough out of conference
2026.
schedules in the 8 game conference schedules really, get them every time.
Yeah,
Yeah,
for
like
real.
and looking at 2026, we have an open spot. It
We
looks like.
do.
Excellent. Let's put
We're we're
Tennessee in there.
we're on
Um,
the road against what UConn and then
yeah,
home against Colorado State, which isn't a
Hey,
bad
UConn, that's a
like
tough game.
like
Shout out to Husky football. Doing better than Husky basketball at the moment.
but then like 2027, it's at Virginia, Indiana State, UMass, which at Virginia would be interesting.
UMass? Is that the Walt Bell game?
Walt Bell game. And then 2028, Eastern Michigan at home against Virginia, and we have an opening. Uh, 2029, Ball State. We get Ball State, and then Western Kentucky, but then we have an opening.
Hmm.
2030, Notre Dame, and the Notre Dame series is the only one for 2030, 2031. So we still have openings. So it's not fully
I
set in stone,
I'm gonna
but
say this debate is going to continue past this year, and it's only
yes.
going to get more irritating as the years roll by.
And I think what the CFP committee did, because they were in a lose-lose situation with this. Do you punish a power
You punish
forward?
bad losses.
Do you punish the ACC championship loser, or do you punish Alabama, who has a better shake the schedule? But yeah, you punish the terrible losses.
Yeah, SMU didn't have a bad loss. Alabama had two.
Clemson, though, what about them? Those losses weren't good.
well
And Clemson
they
did have
got
some bad
in
losses, but
automatically.
they won the championship game. So you
Yeah,
reward well, and okay, the committee also has multiple priorities because they want to empower championship gameplay. So you don't want to punish losers and you want to reward conference championship
yeah.
winners. That being said, the seeding is terrible. We have to fix it.
I think um
Yes, you get
I put this out on Twitter. I gotta find the original tweet. But with a possible 16 team playoff, because we're gonna expand to probably 16 at some point or
Oh
time in the next
I'm
couple of
going to
years.
go up to the
no.
NCAA office in Indianapolis and complain.
But if we go to 16 teams, here's what I proposed. The Power Four championship game. So have the 8 teams that are in like have the championship games be during the playoff. The two group of five champs, uh, 6 at-large bids, and then you reseed out the first round.
That's actually not a terrible idea.
And then the 4 first round games are conference champions for those teams, and then the quarters and semis are still the New Year's Six Bowls. So,
Hmm.
like you have the Big Ten
Yeah.
champions, a group of five champion, and then a auto bid.
And you cut out your extra game with the conference championship game.
Yeah.
Huh, interesting.
Yeah.
Well, I was it. Frankly, it's also, is it time to end conference championship games? If Lane Kiffin doesn't want to play in the SEC championship game, then why are we playing the SEC?
Why? Well, I mean, there's no divisions anymore, so like
Championship games, though.
That's true. They,
They're so
especially this
soft
year,
and
they were
They're
all
so
what I want,
like I
I
like
want,
that they're incentivizing them.
yeah.
I feel like you can incentivize conference championship games, but like I like the precedent that the committee set by putting SMU in the playoffs
Hmm.
because it
Yeah.
signifies that they do really think that losing a conference championship game isn't that bad.
Yeah, it's not that bad. Like Alabama could say, "Well, we have a better record against
I
ranked
think
teams."
we.
You have a
I was
worse
just
record
True,
against.
Alex.
we're losing him.
Oh, my connection's
We're losing
unstable.
him.
Oh no.
Wop wop.
Oh no.
There he is.
There you go.
There we go.
He's
There we
back.
go. We're good. All right. We're going to wrap it up because connection's unstable right now. So thank you all for watching. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe to YouTube, share on all platforms. And I'm going to ask you all, how do you think Michael Penix is going to do in his first start in the NFL?